The German Ardennes offensive in December 1944 came as a surprise to the Americans, who regarded the German army as exhausted by 5 years of continuous wars and the string of devastating defeats in the summer of 1944. Nevertheless, the German High Command had managed to reconstitute a considerable strategic reserve of a few dozen divisions. The sheer scope of the German Ardennes offensive made the Americans speculate on the size of the German reserves. If we want to have a better understanding on how the American High Command perceived the Ardennes offensive during its critical first week, we need to have a closer look on how they estimated the size of the German forces involved. The Germans had managed to line up 5 panzer divisions, 2 parachute divisions, and 11 Volksgrenadier divisions in the first wave of attack. Their second echelon for the exploitation phase consisted of another 3 panzer divisions, 2 Panzergrenadier divisions, and 5 Volksgrenadier divisions. Besides these, there were also 2 armored brigades. The last 2 were offshoots of the Guard troops of Hitler's headquarters and as such part of the so-called Grossdeutschland forces. This made the Americans believe that the elite and experienced Grossdeutschland Panzer Division had been transferred from the Eastern Front to be deployed in the Ardennes. This was not the only overestimation. 3 days after the start of the Ardennes offensive, the German plan began to fall apart. The German vanguards did not reach the Meuse by a long shot, and American resistance proved tougher than expected. This situation forced them to commit the second echelon to tip the balance on the battlefield in their favor. These units were quickly identified by the Americans, but the premature commitment of the German reserves made the Americans believe that there were more German forces which were still in reserve to exploit their breakthrough. By December 21, the Germans had released all armored and mechanized units in an effort to tilt the balance in their favor. This left only 5 Volksgrenadier divisions in reserve, in other words, just infantry and no more armor. The American intelligence estimated, however, 2 additional Volksgrenadier divisions, 2 Panzer divisions, 1 Panzergrenadier division, 1 SS infantry division, and no less than 4 full-strength parachute divisions. They estimated a further possible 2 mountain divisions, 1 parachute panzer division, and an infantry division. Furthermore, there were rumors of 3 more panzer divisions and 1 more parachute division. This meant that the American intelligence overestimated the number of SS panzer divisions by almost double the actual number, the number of infantry divisions by a double, and the number of parachute divisions by a triple. The number of divisions was not the only overestimation by the American intelligence. They also overestimated the tank strength of the panzer divisions they had already identified during the first days of the Ardennes offensive. We have already made a video on the built-up of the German panzer divisions in the wake of the Ardennes offensive. Don't hesitate to check it out. The panzer divisions had on average a strength of 75 main battle tanks. In the initial American estimate, the German divisions had significantly more tanks, however. The SS Panzer divisions were estimated to have between 120 and 128 main battle tanks each. They estimated the Wehrmacht Panzer divisions to be less strong, but still stronger than they actually were. This estimation brought the average to 106 main battle tanks per Panzer division, or on average more over than a quarter the actual number. By December 28, American intelligence still believed that there were 2 full-strength SS Panzer divisions ready to give a new impetus to the German advance. The 3rd SS Panzer Division was thought to have 128 main battle tanks and the 10th SS Panzer Division about 100 main battle tanks. Altogether more than 200 tanks, in other words a force to reckon with. In reality, these 2 divisions were nowhere near the Ardennes, and their strength was altogether only less than half of their estimated strength. The consistent overestimation of the German forces led to an overreaction by the Allied command. By the 25th of December, the German offensive had reached its limits. There were no more reserves, and there was also no more fuel to continue the advance. The German army was basically exhausted and stranded before reaching the Meuse. Nevertheless, the Allies kept pulling troops in. From the south, Patton came with the full force of his Third Army. The British in turn moved their troops to block any German attempt to cross the Meuse. In the weeks that followed, the Americans attacked the Germans in the Ardennes in full force. It was a rather futile exercise, because the German bulge did not pose a threat anymore. The Germans returned the favor by sticking to their useless gains and exhausting their strategic reserves. The American intelligence estimation of the German attacking strength during the first week of the Ardennes offensive was a significant overestimation of the actual German reserves and their tank strength. This overestimation led to a larger concentration of Allied forces than was necessary, because the Germans were largely stopped by the forces the Americans had already pulled in by December 21st. The Allied troop concentration and subsequent attacks led to a diversion of troops, which would have otherwise have broken through the weak German defenses with relative ease, because the majority of the German mobile reserves were stuck in the Ardennes. Let me know in the comment section what you think of my analysis. If you like my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't hesitate to suggest topics you would like me to discuss in future videos.